And he says he did better than Honorable Speaker. Boni says he did better than Honorable Sifuna. I doubt.
Point of order?
With those few remarks, thank you, sir.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Just take your seat. The Honourable
No,
member
the Speaker
has
is not. You are not the Speaker. Stop shouting.
Senator Cherargei, Senator Sifuna.
Yes.
Senator Sifuna, please.
Yes.
There is only one chair, and that chair is me. Senator Cherargei, proceed to make your comments on the petition.
Mr. Speaker, under the meaning of, as I make my comment, under the meaning of the dictionary, regime means an authoritarian regime, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, however much you shout, this is not a marketplace. You must listen to what I'm saying.
Order members. Senator Cherargei, I gave you the floor to
I'm proceeding, Mr. Speaker.
Comment on the petition.
I'm commenting.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, the government we have in place is God-chosen, and it is a government that is not a regime. Regime is a wrong denotation of what the regime means. It is authoritarian. Mr. Speaker, what I wanted to say on the aspect
order members. Order.
On the aspect
Senators, kindly allow the senator to make his comments on the petition as presented by the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that protection. Mr. Speaker, what I want to say is that I agree that the issue of land is an emotive issue. And my law lecturer, Professor Tom Ojenda, will tell you in the book of conveyancing that land is an emotive issue, Mr. Speaker, because Professor Tom Ojenda, who taught me land law and conveyancing, wrote extensively about conveyancing matters in this country. Mr. Speaker, and he begins that land is an emotive issue. Every African, Mr. Speaker, especially from where I come from, if you do not have land, you are nobody. You are not a man. Apart from other qualifications, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage communities to use alternative dispute resolutions. And we have established a mediation center in this republic, Mr. Speaker, especially on land matters. I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, when you look at Kimasa's quarters, in Kapsabet law courts, they have won a case against Africa Produce of 350 acres. They choose to use a judicial process, Mr. Speaker. One of the commitments of President William Ruto's government has been to ensure that no Kenyan should be evicted unlawfully. More so what we call infrastructural evictees, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge these communities. The church is part of the community is the church, Mr. Speaker, and therefore these prayers that has been put in place, Mr. Speaker, is very important. And the issue of land, Mr. Speaker, we need to be careful because there is a dangerous disease, Mr. Speaker, that continues to be a cancerous in this country. It is a disease called grabiosis. When you go, most of the road reserves have been grabbed, Mr. Speaker. Even when you drive all over, the people have built even next to the road reserve, Mr. Speaker. And yet when there is compulsory acquisition being done, Mr. Speaker, at the end of the day, the government ends up paying for its own land, which is public, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge the committee led by my young brother and the last born of the Senate, Senator Medu, Mr. Speaker, to ensure they look into the issue of public land, Mr. Speaker. And we must even, Mr. Speaker, look at some of the people who have grabbed public facilities, including Kisumu Molasses Plant, Mr. Speaker, the other areas that we have one around, Mr. Speaker, in Kisumu, next to the airport, Mr. Speaker, areas that we are having here in Nairobi, Mr. Speaker, even the Senate and even the Parliament, Mr. Speaker, we must look at the title. And I want to urge, Mr. Speaker, that even the primary schools in this school, we had the famous Ruaraka Rand scandal, Mr. Speaker. Allegedly, the former minister was mentioned widely, Mr. Speaker. We need these people to be arrested so that we don't see the issue of land historical injustices, Mr. Speaker. We want them to be arrested, Mr. Speaker, so that we can ensure we protect the sanctity of title deed, Mr. Speaker. Because we don't want to reduce title deed into a tissue paper in this republic, where you are given a title, before you know it, there are many people who have title, Mr. Speaker. And that will be, I know, Mr. Speaker, where you come from. And you have been the governor of Kilifi County, Mr. Speaker, and the Speaker of this House. The issue of land historical injustices, Mr. Speaker, must and should be looked, because I know it affects the coastal area, Mr. Speaker. But I'm happy that being you part of the Speaker of this House and being a leader, Mr. Speaker, you have opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that issues of land historical injustice, not only in Nandi, Mr. Speaker. Finally, we have the issue of Talai land historical injustices. But when you go to Kericho, Mr. Speaker, and I normally say in this House, for the people who use choppers or sky team, as they call themselves, when you fly over Kericho and Bomet and Nandi, you think we are living in Canaan. We are not. Those tea plantations are stained with the blood, Mr. Speaker. The owners are drinking tea somewhere in London, Mr. Speaker, but we are suffering down there, Mr. Speaker. That matter must be put into, even here in Kiambu, Del Monte, Mr. Speaker, they must look at it, Mr. Speaker, because the great people of Kiambu have never benefited. The issue of land must be faced head on, Mr. Speaker. And I know that there are names there are names who are mentioned when people shatter, Mr. Speaker, and they are part of the people who have grabbed land in this republic. They must be prosecuted, they must be arrested, Mr. Speaker. With those very many remarks, I support this petition.
Honorable Senators, we have expanded the time allowable for comments and in this petition. Before I call the chairperson for education, allow me to make the following communication. I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, visiting teachers and students from Teresia Schools, Gilgil, Nakuru County. The group comprises 4 teachers and 28 students who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Also, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, visiting teachers and students from Milimani Primary School, Nairobi County. The group comprises 5 teachers and 229 students who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. In our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Lastly, in the public gallery, we have 5 students, accompanied by 3 teachers from Sabis International School, Nairobi County, who are in the Senate on an education tour. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator for Nairobi, on behalf of the Senate, to, under 1 minute, to welcome the 3 delegations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to welcome the students from the 3 schools, the 2 schools from Nairobi and the 1 from Nakuru. On behalf of my colleague, the Senator for Nakuru, who is not in here, I want to welcome all of you to the Senate this afternoon. I'm hoping that you will get opportunity to learn 1 or 2 things during your tour. Mr. Speaker, just this morning I was at the Moi Forces Academy, where all the primary schools in Nairobi are having games there as we wait for them to proceed to the nationals in Kisumu. And I want to encourage these young people who are here this afternoon to work as hard as they can during their time in school, to listen to their teachers, their directive of the teachers and their parents, and to shoot for the sky. I don't think that in the current times that we live in, there is anything that is beyond anyone if you put your mind to it. So on behalf of the Speaker, the Senate, my colleague, the Senator for Nakuru, is not here, I welcome you and I wish you a fruitful visit. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Chairperson Standing Committee on Education to present the report. Now, Senator Mazayo, you know you cannot stand on a point of order on the issues shared with me unless you have a different matter. However, honorable senators, you will recall that sometimes last week, the minority leader rose to seek for a statement on the security of the senators on the minority side, pursuant to the withdrawal